not just a means of relocating. There must be that intention.
You have to give them the brutal honesty.
Absolutely.
Because people think, I'm going there, land of plenty.
Yeah.
The roads are full of... No.
Never compare your weaknesses with other people's strength.
It's not all about the profit.
Mm.
You know, when you're consumed by the profits, you tend to
Lose
sight of the greater goal.
My mom is Ugandan. My dad is Nigerian.
Yeah.
They met in Nairobi, Kenya. J'essaie dans d'autres pays de parler à propos de mon université en même temps.
Très bon, très bon. Well, I am lost.
This is TINE Africa Podcast. The new sound of international education in Africa. Hello again and welcome to another episode of TINE Africa Podcast. This is where we talk about everything that has to do with international education in the continent of Africa. And I'm so delighted to be your host. My name is Louis Adekola and I am today being joined by two amazing individuals when we shall be talking about a topic that I found very interesting. This topic is about managing relationships between the institutions overseas and the agencies that they work with in the continent of Africa, basically to understand how the dynamic African market works, but also to understand how this relationships also, is being well managed in a way that is mutually beneficial and also contributes to development of the industry. Today, like I said, I'm joined by two amazing individuals. These are people that I've known for quite some time and I have so much respect for. The first person that I'm joined with today is a very good mentor to not only me, but to also like a lot of us in the industry. She's been in the industry for a while. We say that she's a legend in the industry. Her name is Tara Oluwo and she is the founder and CEO. She's the founder and CEO of Narrowhill International. Hello.
Thank you, Louis.
Okay.
I mean, this is over-related, but thank you for having me.
All right.
It's good to know that.
It's not overrated at all.
And a mentor.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Good. I think, it's always good to give honor to whom honor is due, so you have worked so hard for that. We'll come to that. I think my first question is going to drill a little bit of that. But my second guest today is a very good friend of mine, someone who is been in the industry for some time as well, but also is a very well-loved person. I like to say that he's my best male friend in the industry, but I'm not lucky to be his best male friend in the industry. Wow. And this person is Wole Ibukun. Wole is the Regional Manager for Sub-Saharan Africa at the Queen's University, Belfast. Hi, Wole.
Hi. Way to put me under the first second. Wow.
Very good to have you here. I wasn't lying, was I?
No, you're not lying. No, he's lying. Please, guys. Let's not put it on record. You are.
Okay. Well, thank you. So those of you that think that Wole you're Wole's best friend in the industry, I am now. I've claimed him.
Why are you creating strife now? I'm managing all my relationships.
It is good. I know. Alliances here and there. Well, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Louis.
How do you feel being here? Let's start with that.
I think I'm anxious. I think I will say, this is my first time, I would say, on a podcast. So it's kind of making me feel uneasy. I'm one person that like to, I'm shy on camera, but I think I'm okay.
Great.
So it's good. It's good.
Great. Very good to have you here. And we love the idea of first, don't we? Yeah. Wole, how do you feel?
I'm also a virgin on podcast. So this is really exciting. I really love this whole setup.
Okay.
I'm looking forward to seeing what this road leads to.
Yeah. Great. Okay, so let's get cracking, can we? I want to say that Because I like to look at the industry very well, and I understand that a lot of time people don't exactly have idea of like how people start, and sometimes we all aim for a certain position in the industry. We aim to be the best at what we do. We aim to keep going in terms of promotion and position, but sometimes just reflecting on how people have moved from one point to the other can be a way of inspiring that progress, that growth in the industry. So I want to start by asking you, I'll start with you, Wole. What has your journey been? Can you walk us through a bit of your journey in the international education industry?
Wow. So I think for like most people who would tell you the journey to the international education, it's never a straight one. You go through different lives, I call it. So I think I'd like to start mine by saying that I was one of the lucky ones that went to study abroad. I studied in the UK for a master's program. After I went on there, I was quite active in the uni. I also mentioned with merit and distinction, graduation and everything. Let me just put it there. I was not.
Did you make a distinction?
Hello, yes.
Love it.
Hello. By the way, for those who feel like distinction is too achievable, I started with a third class from Babcock University.
Oh.
Then went ahead and took education a bit more seriously, especially when you have to pay hefty amounts for an education. Then that's when I sat up and did well. From there, I was very active in school. Came back to Nigeria. Was an HR manager. Was a talent acquisition manager. So that was where I really started on. And then doing some alumni work with the university I graduated from, which was Nottingham Trent University.
Okay.
So I'll go and sit at fairs, or when you use your alumni to sit at fairs, talk about the experience. That's where it started off from. And then the university was recruiting and got me on board, and that's how I got in with barely any experience about or knowledge about the international education sector.
Nice. Okay. That's a very nice one. Number one, I didn't know some of the things that you said. But I'm still your friend. I'll come back to that. There's something I want to say there. But so Antara, it's okay. I'll call you Antara.
Even on screen.
Yes.
Yeah.
So tell us about your journey as well. I know it's a bit different from Wole's story. So tell us about your journey.
Yeah, absolutely different from Wole's story. Just like Wole said, he didn't have any knowledge about the international recruitment sector. I didn't either. I would probably say mine was accidental. I was in the northern part of one of the states in the northern part of Nigeria, and crisis broke out. I didn't want to come back to Lagos because I felt comfortable over there. No stress, unlike Lagos where I came from. But people really didn't want me to stay, and so the call began. You need to get out of that place. And fortunately, I got connected to Dave Abion. When I got introduced to Dave Abion, it was like, what kind of work is this? Totally new. It's strange to me. Of course, you've heard about people traveling abroad, studying abroad, but not like taking that as a profession. And, I didn't think I was going to last. I didn't think I was going to be here. And the journey started. It's easy when you are selling something visible. But this one is just you having to talk, counsel people. And I felt, no, I don't think I can do this. This is not my place. And without no prior knowledge, no experience. And that same month, I think I had 2 universities visited Nigeria, being University of Salford and University of Reading. And of course, I was practically like everybody in Dave Abion. About that time I'd left, so I was just on my own. And that was how the journey of having to be traveling. I think apart from part of the north, I've never been to other
Other
parts
states.
of Nigeria, being the south. And that was how the journey began. Then I had to go to Port Harcourt, Abuja, and just listening to them do the presentation sort of, kind of gave me that interest, to say, okay. I mean, all along, I think I've been in the ministry, kind of a Christian organization where you talk to students, you counsel them on tertiary institution, which was what I was doing, basically in Kano. And so coming down to Lagos, I just saw it as a transition. You've been dealing with students. Okay, so this is another dimension to the work. So that was how I found myself in the industry.
That is very great to see, because again, it gives that kind of angle to the kind of journey that people would have. We tend to see a lot of people that gets into the industry by sort of advice by someone, or by someone saying, come around, do whatever, this is what is closed at this time, and then you get it, and then you fall in love, and then you just realize that is where I'm meant to be. And then we have people who also have studied abroad, and then they come back, and then like Wole has shared.
Yeah.
In my case, it was slightly different, because I was just on the lookout. I studied educational management in university, and I knew that I loved to talk and of everything. I didn't know if I wanted to be a teacher, but I wasn't very sure at that time. So I was just looking out for every other opportunity in the education sector that was different from teaching at the time. Now I love teaching even so much more than I did at the time. And then when I found, student counseling and overseas education, I just fell in love, and I was like, okay, I'm going to try that. And then, there are sometimes that you just find, you just know that you've started something, and that's it for me. So thank you for sharing that with us. Now, I want to ask this question specifically, and Tara, and then I'll ask you, Wole, a bit a different angle. How would you describe, in this journey that you've had, how would you then describe the industry? What does it look like now? Because it's a very dynamic market, isn't it?
It is.
And I'll ask both of you, because you're coming from different angle. Wole, you represent a university, and you come from the agency side of things. How would you describe the industry from the agency side of things?
Well, I would say a lot has changed. A lot. I mean, Wole and I, we just chit-chatting, just some seconds ago, and how a lot is happening in the industry. I think way back when we started, you really do not have so much of agency presence.
Yeah.
It was just few.
Yes.
And then you could just mention the few, at the tip of your fingers. And there was nothing like social media.
Yes.
It was all about, paper application. It was, communication.
Ordering prospectuses and expecting it to be delivered to you.
And then you're having the British Council Education Fair. I think then it was just the British Council that was the coordinator. And then you were having universities ship down the, this stack of prospectuses, boxes of prospectuses. And anywhere you're going to Abuja, you have them already shipped in advance. You're going to Kano, anywhere, and it has to be, paper application and so on.
Wow.
Even then, communication, I've been in the industry since 2006. Communication was, when I think of now, I was just clearing my room probably last year, and I came across something like this. I didn't understand.
Yeah.
And this was one of the means of, and I had to keep this, because each time I see this, it just sort of
It flashes back.
How
Explain to us. Yeah, they have to explain to us what it is.
Okay, so this is more like Starcom's modem, and the way it works, more like a dial-up thing, and you have to slot this in your computer or your laptop.
So it was not wireless.
It was so it's more like a dial-up thing. Do you understand? And then sometimes,
And it has the antenna as well.
it has the antenna. So sometimes you're working and you're having to be turning, the antenna to see, okay,
This is for
when this and all of that, So that was how we started. And there was nothing like you're attaching and uploading documents. you need to send an emergency, message to the UK. You're having to use fax machine, and so that has been, the journey. And oftentimes when the university come, it's more like on the spot admission. Of course, the likes of Wole. Wole's role was not existing then, so you have more frequent visits, by the university's representative. So fast forward, to where we are, a lot has changed.
I saw an Instagram video of yourself dancing. I was like, "What have you done to my auntie?"
That was a setup. Exactly. That was really a setup, because I was just trying to describe something, and before you know it, every opportunity to create content to, I'm still in self-denial, on that. But, so far, a lot has changed in the industry that has made the operation smooth, seamless, but more tasking, because more demand from the institutions is about meeting your target, so, but operation wise, I think it's now smooth compared to the years before.
Thank you very much for sharing that, and thank you for coming with some evidence of the journey that we've had and the
Oh my God.
and the history that we have with this.
I had to keep that for each.
Yeah.
I would feel that it was like a phone, like all those old phone batteries. No, I wouldn't know that it was a whole internet modem.
Yeah,
It was an internet.
when you see the internet, the way you see the antenna, it has something to do.
Yeah.
All right, Wole, I'm going to come to you now with a question very similar to that, but more around what the current outlook is. I like that she's giving us that background into how it has also changed now. So Wole, how would you describe the industry now? More importantly,
As you said from the beginning, it's something that I would say it's quite dynamic. It's really hard to forecast things these days, especially of recent. It's really hard to forecast things because everything changes, and it's from the politics to the economics of things to the locations of where the students are most likely wanting to go and study. Although UK is still one of the top foreign study destinations, so it changes, and you have to be able to surf around those things and make sure that you still come as a university representative, you still come on top and say, yes, we're still a viable choice for you. So I mean, it really changes. Social media, as Auntie Tara said, social media, as Auntie Tara said, is like a big tool now. Some universities are not quite aware of it. Some universities are really spot on with it. And depending on what region you cover, it's also, you need to create more awareness. I would say, as a foreign university, to create more awareness in the local places you cover. I would not advertise the same way if for Nigeria, I would not advertise the same way in Lagos that I would advertise in Kano, Port Harcourt, or any other parts of Nigeria. But if you now cover, like for me, Sub-Saharan Africa, where we cover Ghana, our approach is completely different. It's not one size fits all. And this is so much of the dynamics I'm talking about, because yes, as I mentioned, the location, but also the politics. Recently, Nigeria went from, was it a year ago, from 500 to the pound, 500 to the pound to over 2,000 pounds. This makes education more expensive, but you still want to provide that opportunities for students to go over, and you have to balance those things. So the dynamics is always there. It's how you manage with the university, how you present it to the people who have those opportunities, but also how you partner with the agents on ground.
Excellent. You've also already led us to the next phase of this conversation, which is around partnering with agent and managing that relationship. But I see Anstar like itching to add something at that.
Well, I was just going to say something to Wole, that unfortunately education it isn't cheap. Do you understand? I mean, it's not cheap. So it's even here in Nigeria, it's not everybody that can afford it. So
We call it a luxury brand. Sometimes
a-
when we on the road where we discuss, it's a luxury brand.
Absolutely.
So you have to be aware that it is quite it's quite a task.
Yeah.
We call it an investment.
Sort of. I like to look at it as an investment. I mean, access is very important. It's also always very important to look at access in terms of how people can access education. How do we make it more affordable for people? How do we support or cushion the effect? And this can be like the roles of different stakeholders, from universities to government to funding organizations, right? But I also think that it is an investment at the end of the day, because whether you're paying for it yourself or someone else is paying for it, it is an investment, and it has to be worth it. So now let's go back to what you were saying about managing agent relationship, and I'll start with you again, Wole. How important do you think that agent partnership is to the work that you do as a university representative?
So also we call them, as universities, we call them partners. And in that word partnership is that you feel that there's an equal opportunity for us. There's a merge of two entities to work together to create that thing. So the importance is quite high. For instance, for somebody like me that I represent all of Sub-Saharan Africa. So I report directly to the UK, to my Queen's University, Belfast University, and I'm the only one on ground going from all these African countries. I cannot do it alone. We need key agents that would be able to help and counsel my student to the point of visa. And we like to say that UK visa, for instance, is linear, is everywhere, has about the same entry, the requirements. But there's some intricacies that come from somebody applying from Kenya, South Africa, or Nigeria. Nigeria has full of landmines to apply for visas. Sometimes, although I'm Nigerian, sometimes I do not know the latest report from the IOM. Those are the tuberculosis centers, or what other centers are there. But the agents do, because that's what they do for different universities. They go and send 100 students per centers. So it really does help that we have that local on ground intelligence for us as universities, because God knows, Botswana, how much do I know? Malawi, yes, I go there once in a while. Mauritius, but we have those agents there that are really the local knowledge that can assist us to make it clearer to the student who, for instance, has never had any interaction with the UK, or apart from movies. So apart from movies. So it is really key to have that relationship. I think it's quite a good and important relationship.
And it's a very interesting thing that you've talked about, especially I mean, I love the fact that you have a way of doing things. I'm going to come back to the question that is more specific about this, but if you are saying this, sometimes I even wonder how people like us, manage in the industry, again, because you have, you cover all this region, but you also speak French, right?
Yes.
Do you understand? You speak French. You have another, sorry, I'm going to cast you on this one, but you also have another nationality, or like another blood in you apart from the Nigerian. Tell us a little bit. So let me.
That's the worst thing when your family is interviewing you.
Yes.
Is bringing up all your sick.
Yes.
So yes. So I was born in East Africa. So I was born in Kenya because my father was a diplomat. I was born in Kenya. Lived there for a year. Then moved to France right away, so I did not even have time to develop any East African accent from that front. Could not speak Swahili to save my life, but then lived in France for 10 years. So those were my formative years. Then, so you can hear a bit of all this accent, but also my mom is Ugandan, my dad is Nigerian. Of course, they met in Nairobi, Kenya. So all that, it helps me to be a bit more broad with my.
Exactly.
I've been traveling more prior to the job, so it gives me that exposure, but also gives me the understanding of different cultures, different markets. Also, now that we're broadening into French-speaking Africa, j'essaie donc d'autres pays de parler à propos de mon université en même temps.
Très bon, très bon. Well, I am lost.
Oui, pardon. Pardon.
No. Bonjour.
Oui, compris. Oui, compris.
I agree. I'm quite unique among people in our industry, but you use whatever advantage you've been dealt and abuse it and chase with it.
I think this is one thing that I always talk about when I have the privilege of talking to colleagues, really about tapping into your personal abilities, your background, your skills, and your network, because that's what really makes all the difference at the end of the day. You covering Sub-Saharan Africa now, you can like tap into your Ugandan heritage of like your Kenyan birth, and then you go to Senegal, and then he goes to some schools with us, and then all the students are with him because he can speak the language.
I mean, that's a leverage. That's
exactly
on that.
Anyway, now talking about.
I need the raise.
Now talking about students, and Sarah, I want to ask you this question about the agent relationships. So he's talked about the relationship between institutions and agents in the angle of how that impacts the work that the institutions do. But I think ultimately the most important stakeholder in the work that we do are the students that we recruit, aren't it? So I want to ask you this question about how does good agent-partner relationships impact on student recruitment, especially from Africa?
Wow. Well, I will say it does impact it positively because, like, I haven't been here for so many years, and like you did talk about the dynamics, the visa issue, some of those things that you as a university representative may not be able to. Working with the students, seeing them, putting them through really. A whole lot of them comes without understanding of what it is that they want to do, and being, let me use Wale's word, a university partner. Like we were at the event, we don't like the word agency or agents because it's been abused. And so we want to stand in as a counselor, a consultant, and this is what we've been doing over the years to sort of make the work seamless for them, guiding them. You understand, because institutions themselves are not just looking for any student. They want genuine students. They want students that know and understand what they want to go and do. And being a consultant or a counselor, we're able to guide the students appropriately. Oftentimes someone said to me the other day, do you mean you turn down students? Of course, I will turn down students, especially where I know that the intention of the student first is not genuine, to the financial capacity. You do not want students that will go out there and the next thing is you're not able to continue with your program, and it's not just a means of relocating. There must be that intention, and this is what institutions are looking for. Partners that will be able to guide, scrutinize the students and understand that they have what it takes. And above all is actually to also help the students to know their career aspiration and helping to guide them, with decisions that would help them change the course of their lives. I've seen some of those students, and when they turn out well at the end of the day, I am happy. It's not just about getting their visa, but about being able to go through with your program. That's where the joy comes, from. It's not just about the visa, but this is what we as counselors and consultants have been doing over the years. Yeah, but to just help them to see it's not about relocation, it's about going to pursue a qualification, having what you feel that your local environment cannot give to you. And what are those things? Talk of world-class facilities,
Yes.
global qualification,
Yeah.
looking for hope of having enhanced career prospect. So this is what we want to ensure that these students are being guided towards achieving.
Exactly.
Just to add on that, what Auntie Tara said about genuine students. If your student is not genuine, most likelihood we get a visa refusal.
Absolutely.
A visa refusal with a student who has an offer to the university reflects bad on the foreign university.
Yeah.
Then which reflects bad on the partner.
On the
partners.
Excellent.
The university might say we lose confidence in the partners, exactly, that they are not able to scrutinize these students. But now the reason I say it reflects bad on the university is because there's the UK government that oversees.
And it's the same for different countries as well.
Different countries. If you've had too many refusals, the university can lose their license. Therefore, they have to also put down pressure to our anti-down.
It's a very interesting dynamics, isn't it? Because it goes from, it's a complete cycle. The students does something and they're like, yeah, I'm just doing it. But it goes on to, maybe they're coming directly to the school through the representative, or they're going through the agent, and then there is that flow of whatever positive or negative action on that agent or rep, and then back to the university, and then to the government, and all the way back through that.
So as a student who doesn't do well reflects bad on that action. But the successful student, it's like your own child has made it and has gone over, and you because you've gone through that journey as well. Us from the point that the recruitment has been done, and you go all the way to your university, and you see how they bloom, blossom, they now gain more confidence. That's something as well I gained by my education. Gain more confidence. Now come back and you can face anything. It is. I'm not saying that local education is that you don't get as much, but it really helped me a lot. And I think when we look at the students, because we all look at them like almost our children, when at some point, because you've dealt with them over midnight calls maybe,
absolutely,
you've heard their whole story. They go on with their whole story. Some stories are quite heart-wrenching.
Yes, true.
So you just they come from families which probably have sold properties just to send this student, one of their first to go to university at all or abroad. So you are also there invested in that journey. Then you find out from our university perspective, because now we have that student in our university, and you see what they become. Some of them become student body president. Some gain to get jobs that they stay in the UK or come back, but they become quite professionals. Like you're just like, wow, was it little me that? So as
I had back in my days in Devon, I had a student. I'm not going to mention the name. You could see a very young, 16. From Edo State, and she went to University of Reading, precisely, and had a foundation. The result was fantastic. And the father came and said, Tara, I wanted to go to Oxford. I wanted to go to Cambridge. I said, slow down.
Slow down.
Rest your body. Exactly. I know that you are the financier. But I want to believe that this child is already familiar with that territory. Why don't you allow her go through a university degree at University of Reading? When she graduates and she comes out with a first class, and then everyone will want to grab her.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, she graduated with a first class. The first, I think, black woman.
Wow.
To graduate. I mean, the national newspaper carried that story. I mean, when I heard that story, it was around 6 a.m. The mother just called me, Tara, your daughter. And I went on my knees. And I was just like, thank you, God, thank you, God. You can imagine. I mean, it's a lot for me to take in.
Yeah.
Especially when you're seeing the national dailies carry that story.
Yeah.
You know, and is Ajibota child. You will call her Ajibota child, but can do absolutely can speak Yoruba, can cook, can do fashion, and that did not, just like Wole said, studying abroad. I didn't have the privilege of going abroad to study, but it amazes me when you see the confidence that they exude, when they stand to present and all of that. So I mean, for me, it's a lot to see these children succeed at the end of the day.
Yes.
I love that we've shared in that conversation that we just had now. I love that we've shared both the positive side of the engagement that we do and the impact of the negative sort of engagement, when we were plotting the graph of how it moved from the student all the way to the university, the government, and all the way back, and how some of the time people just feel like policies are changing or there's pressure from this person, but the fact is that pressure is actually trickling down from higher authorities, but it doesn't then mean that we can't also impact or influence some of these changes, right? And I think we do that quite a lot. And I was just reflecting on the last TINE Summit and Awards when you were also talking about the importance of ensuring that you give the student the right support. You tell them everything they need to know.
Yes.
Whether you're the agent or agent partner or you're the university representative. I think all of those are very important, and that's what brings you to this point of having that connection with the students.
Add on to that, you have to give them the brutal honesty.
Absolutely.
Because people think, I'm going there, land of plenty.
Yes.
The roads are full of money. No, you're going to get cold.
Yeah. You're going to struggle with reading. You have to read a lot.
You have to read a lot. You follow signs. People will not be there to give you direction.
Press the button before you
cross the road. You'll be like, no, it's
keeping up attendance.
Yeah.
So it's really like, now it's about you. There's nobody hand holding you, which more or less we are doing till the point to that point, helping you with your application, hand holding you, making sure that preparing you, because we know once you get there, although there's a whole entire support team in the university, but the support team is different.
Great.
You get into a hostel, you're the one cleaning it. You're the one cleaning. You're finding the food. You might not like the food in the UK. You have to find where you can find your nearest Nigerian or whatever local restaurant. But all those things. The brutal honesty, the truth when you speak to a student, that you realize that those are the exceptions.
Let them understand what to expect rather than assuming and that believing in the fantasy of
don't get Ajibota. They get there and expect that you still have your maid and cook and driver.
I had a student and the dad was saying, can I get where they're gonna cook somebody to cook a way to a and I'm saying, sir, would you allow these children to grow? They cannot be under your tutelage forever. And so there is a time where you just have to let them fall and get up. And part of that falling is some of them failing. But the important thing is for them to realize that I fail and I'm able to get up and continue a bit. Well, listen, she
graduated with third class and then is now a brilliant person.
I try.
I want to out him, but
because the truth is, when you think of the investment, I mean, and this is what I actually tell students. You see, count yourself privileged that your parents. I mean, for you, Louis, you had it on a platter of gold.
Did you say I did? How?
I
did it. I thought you were going to say that I didn't have it on a platter of gold.
It's a platter of gold, platinum, man. Let's talk platinum and diamond.
No.
Okay. There's nothing high. My knowledge does not go higher than that.
Okay, I understand. I know what I'm saying. But I think it's just like Wole said. Is to just be honest with them.
Yeah.
And part of that honesty is what the British Council, has been trying to enshrined.
We need to get them to sponsor this podcast, don't we?
So in the code and ethics, of the industry, agent policy framework and all of that, the ethical framework and all of that. I think agents really need to take that seriously, because a whole lot of us out there, we deceive the students.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we really do. We're not honest with them, and we are not transparent with them. We just make them believe. When you go out there, especially where a student is struggling to finance a study or our study, and you're telling the student, when you go out there, you're going to get good job, and you're going to be, excuse me.
And it's interesting because that also forms that bandwagon effect that we tend to see from time to time. And people come into your table and say, I'm looking for a course. And then you're like, what course? And like, any course that can give me a job, because that's what they've heard, right? So, but I'm going to drag you back to that conversation around agent-partner relationship, which is like the crux of this conversation, right? So, Wole, you are a very well-loved person in the industry. Don't argue with me. You're a very, very, very well-loved person in the industry, and I appreciate that, because it's very good when you can tap into your personality to build that relationship that not only works for you as a person, but also works for the institution that you work with. What I want to ask is that, what is that secret ingredient that you use in ensuring
I have not been paid to join this podcast. I have not been paid to give you a secret out there.
So what is that secret ingredient that you sort of engage, that you tap into in creating that good relationship? That's the first, because I want us to have just that answer together. It's very close. Is that can you separate personality or your personal behavior or personality basically from your professional engagement when it comes to agent-partner relationships?
So I think in the past would be personal at home and professional on the job.
Yeah.
But the way it's an all-consuming job sometimes. You do events, you take a flight at midnight, you get home.
Oh, tell me.
The whole household is sleeping, but you're taking off the next morning. You have no time to cool or chill. Then you're back off on the road. So what I'd say that the secret ingredient now that you've not paid for me, so I'll just keep it brief. No, but that secret ingredient is really tapping in to your own. Everybody have their own additional gift, probably something that they use more. They've learned from their past, or from failing and making it, and failing and making it, or understanding how to interact in public. So I can say that my dad was a diplomat. So you see from the diplomacy perspective, a child of a diplomat becomes automatically a child of a diplomat and pastor. These ones, they become people pleasers, which now is not so great.
There's a diplomat.
A
diplomat.
Then
I was already thinking of how to find the balance between what it's saying. We love it. Go on.
Then you go to the UK, you learn critical thinking, which was not really strong earlier in the education system in Nigeria. You learn critical thinking, and you tend to learn how to be self. So that's personally my own journey. And then now you go into a job which you fall in love with, because you're counseling honestly to people who want to progress on in life, and you have to give them honest advice. A good agent does wonderful. A bad agent really can spoil that student's career path. And as well for the university representative. So I feel like everybody has their own experience. I've just told you, taking you through a few of mine. Everyone has their own experience, and you have to merge it in what you do, because you have to be as authentic as possible. That's what I feel. And in that sense, to go on to your own second question, that helps you to build that partnership.
Exactly.
Helps you to be able to speak in different sectors.
Thank you, Wole, for sharing that.
Yes.
And Tara, I want to ask this one. It's a very close question, and I think also you can also answer quickly. This key ingredient that was Wole shared? I asked it from the perspective of personality, but what would you say are the key ingredients that universities can tap into or use to ensure that they have good relationships and manage that relationship or sustain that relationship that they have with their agent? So I'm now talking about agent and the university. How do we make it work? What is the key ingredient in your experience?
Tricky one.
Yeah.
I wish I
You're welcome. You're welcome.
I think from the university and agent angle would be what I would say that ingredient is that constant communication.
Yeah.
Outlining that policies, and for agents or partners to also ensure they want representative that they can trust,
Yes.
they can rely on anytime, any day. So we having as representative to also make ourselves that have those virtues that they are looking for, a go-to person. I mean, over the years before representative took over the role, I've seen where university university staff would call me from the UK. Can you do this for me? Making yourself available. You understand? Whenever, giving them the right information, the local intelligence and all that. They want people that they can count on.
Absolutely.
To give them the information that is required to to keep supporting them. Because it's all about supporting, really.
Because let's think about it. Although the agents might partner with many universities, us as university will expect the agents to be us on ground.
Yeah.
So that's adding on to what Tara said.
Yeah.
You have to be able to represent the university.
Okay, so finally, I want to ask you, Tara, in your you said you started in 2006, and you're 18 years old, 20,
Almost
18 years?
Yes, yeah.
In your 18 years of being in the industry, what is that greatest lesson that you have learned that people in the industry, whether reps or agency owners or student counselors, can learn from?
Your questions are harder.
Oh dear.
Only for the legend.
Yes. Thank you.
I think if there's anything that wasn't there in time past that is there now, I think which I just hope that the younger ones will learn from, it's that it's not all about the profit. When you're consumed by the profits, you tend to
Lose
sight of the greater goal. And the profits, I don't want to call it by its name, but let's understand what I mean by the profit. You've seen people having to do all sorts of things to just ensure that they package you. You just go, whether they have to do it illegitimately, fraudulently, they don't care. But for me, I'm glad that the British Council has come up with that policy of
We must get them on to sponsor this episode.
and that policy is key for every partner, every university partner, every agent to take advantage of.
Okay.
That's that integrity,
Thank you.
transparency, respecting people's value. Do you understand? Because a lot of times, because we have access to this student's information, you see it, this is the son of. You've got to be able to keep the profile of the,
Privacy.
the privacy.
Thank you. I think that respect, like you said, is very important. The respect, the transparency. We've talked about that a lot, and that's between both parties as well. My final question to you, Wole, is really about tapping into this. So, and especially for colleagues like yourself who are student or university representatives. But I want to ask it in the angle of, if you do meet your younger self who is just starting off in the industry as a rep or working as a counselor, what would your advice be?
You're perfect. You're doing just fine. No, but to be honest, that's it sounds vain, right? You're perfect. You're doing just fine. You're learning.
Yeah.
You're learning, and everybody's learning around you. Although you lean on people who have more experience than you.
Yeah.
You can piggyback and pick that knowledge, improve it, and shoot further than in most cases. And that's something that earlier in education I was like less confident. I was thinking, oh, can I say this, can I say that? But now you go on and you just say it with confidence, say it with your chest, and
It's a way of
pushes. But it is really some of it is quite intuitive because it's kind of a humanity job where you are trying to understand the person's want, try to guide them in the right direction, and wishing them well so that
absolutely
they go in the right direction and don't say, I want to study anything that makes me money. No,
good.
You have to be good at something or are passionate about something. And that's how I'd started off, but I was not sure. So in those days, so I feel like coming up with.
Thank you for saying that. 3 things that I can summarize from what you said is: number 1, believing in yourself; 2, be ready to learn; and the other one, I would say it in my own way of saying it, which is never compare your weaknesses with other people's strengths. Well, thank you very much both, and I hope to having you back again. But I also want to say thank you to everyone who has listened to this episode and watched this episode, because this was such a very great conversation that we just had about managing agent-partner relationship between universities, university representatives, and the agent partners that they work with in a very dynamic African market. So thank you all for watching and for listening, and we ask you to be back again to watch and listen to every episode of TINE Africa podcast. But do not forget to also subscribe and to like, to share, and to comment on everything. We also like to hear back from you on every conversation. What would you like to hear? What kind of conversations you would like us to have? But till next time, when we will be back again on TINE Africa podcast, I want to thank you all, and thank you both for such a great time, and say thank you all. And this has been Louis Adekola, TINE Africa podcast, the new sound of international education in Africa. Bye for now.